what's going on, guys? It is Fox98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel, and another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode for you guys here for the Spanish Grand Prix Season 2. So let's get straight into it then. If you end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed already, as we try to make our way towards 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And we're doing a very, very great job so far with the support and the growth at the moment. So I can only thank you guys for that. I really, really appreciate it. So let's get straight into it then. So first things first, we're having a look at all of our departments, and as you can see, durability-wise, we are bottom of the table, but we do have a major gearbox upgrade on the way, and I'm going to eventually get an ICE upgrade on the way. In terms of the aero, we're actually got the best aero on the grid, which actually surprised me, to be honest. In terms of the powertrain, we've got the second best powertrain over there, and then on the chassis, we are fourth quickest. However, we have got a major fuel or weight redistribution upgrade coming for the Dutch Grand Prix. I believe that component already failed, so it's going to be 100% guaranteed to get on before then. So as you can see, in terms of the R&D graph, you can see how everyone's progressing, and as the gap between Mercedes and ourselves gets ever closer, it can only mean promising signs. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, we are obviously on 103 points after picking up 3 race victories in the first 5 rounds. So we've had a very, very successful start to the season, and obviously we picked up a podium as well in Melbourne, a P2 in that Grand Prix. So definitely looking on the up in this season as we look to try and challenge even further. Now the practice is complete, we can go ahead and make an upgrade onto our car and move forward with our development. And I really need to get an ICE upgrade on the car. The ICE is just one of the components that wears out the quickest, so I'm going to put that onto the car. It should come just before the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which will be absolutely amazing for us. We definitely need it. I just feel like it's the compartment that's just wearing out the most. So on that front, it's all good. But as you can see, down on the bottom there, we have an issue. We have got a, I think it was a leak or some sort, which has lost us 7 minutes of Q1, which was a bit of a pain in the backside. But nevertheless, though, we're going to come on to our first flying lap here, and it's a 1 minute 14.5, which was only good enough for P12 on that lap. I don't think I needed to go out again to set another lap, but I really wasn't happy with it in general. It just didn't feel good enough, and I was having a look at that gap between myself and Giovinazzi, measuring it quite easily, and we do get through. But what was actually quite interesting is that we were only 0.2 of a second, in fact less than, no, just over 0.2 of a second off of my teammate Perez, and Perez was up in P6, so that's a really, really close Q1, and I had to take that into a lot of consideration as we move now over in towards Q2 very, very shortly, as we do right now. In towards Q2 then, and as you can see, we're about to go through in towards the high-speed corner here, going a little bit wide on the exit, and that's a little bit of a, oh, whoops-a-daisy, that's a bit of a mistake. Luckily, that was on a scrub set of tyres, so yeah, I wasn't really too fussed about that. Then in towards the end of Q2, we're now going to have to set a qualifying lap, otherwise we are out of qualifying, and we do set a 1 minute 13.9, which compared to my Q1 lap time, was a 0.6 of a second improvement, and that puts us up in P4, so a mega lap there gets us through into Q3, which I was really, really happy about. And as you can see, it was a 0.2 of a second shy of the Mercs, and a really, really impressive bit of performance there as we managed to jump or beat one of the Ferraris there. So can't complain about that. Really, really good lap. Both Red Bulls as well, struggling for pace, but yeah, an extremely close qualifying session. But now what I'm going to do is, this is my best lap in qualifying, so you're going to ride on board with it. So there it is then, my best lap of the weekend of a 1 minute 13.8. I was really happy with the lap, but I knew there was more time to find. On my next fine lap, unfortunately, I couldn't actually hook the lap up together, so it was a pretty poor lap time there, and I lost about 0.3 of a second compared to my previous lap. Though, like I said, my best lap of the weekend was definitely still a couple of tenths to find, but unfortunately, I just couldn't find it. So it is what it is, but it is going to be P3 on the grid, so not a bad qualifying at all from ourselves there, and we could definitely be pleased with that lap time. But have a look at the top 10 between Bottas on pole and Vettel down in P10. It's 0.6 of a second. That's it. That is a super close qualifying session around Barcelona, where there are pretty much a mixture of everything. You've got the high-speed corners, you've got long straight, and you've got the twisty final sector. That's extremely close. You know, if we'd lost 0.2 on that lap, you know, we could have been starting way down the order in like P7, P8. So, yeah, it was a really good lap, actually, and a really good qualifying session to see it just that close between all of us now. But taking a look at the grid then, another big shock was Daniel Ricciardo, who qualifies on the front row of the grid and was only 7/100ths of a second shy of what Bottas did. And then obviously we were there in pretty much close proximity with the rest, out qualifying Lewis Hamilton, which was pretty impressive, and my teammate Perez there starting in P7. There is somebody though that does have a grid penalty, so I'm not quite sure who it is. We'll find out on the screen very shortly, but wherever they are, they're starting. There it is, it's Albon. He starts in P19 after a 10-place grid penalty. Not really the ideal time to be taking that penalty around Spain, but you know, if you've got to take it, you've got to take it. But onto the grid now. I actually didn't show you guys the strategy, my bad. It's soft, medium, medium, but 5 red lights then, and it is going to be lights out eventually. Come on, let's get them going. Here we go then. It's lights out. Here we go here for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. It's been a great start for us though. We're going to go slot in towards the middle now. Bottas and Ricciardo. Ricciardo gets a better run than Bottas in towards turn 1. We'll slot into the slipstream with Daniel Ricciardo. Go late on the brakes down the inside. Swoop through, and we are up into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. Ricciardo goes around the outside of Bottas. Make that the inside line now, and it is ourselves into the lead. Ricciardo in the Renault in second, Bottas in third, Sainz in fourth, Hamilton in fifth. I think my teammate Perez is in sixth behind Hamilton. So a good start from both of the Force Koreans, with Perez making its way up into P6, and we are up into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix, and now we can take control of the race as it stands now as we go through in towards the middle sector now, and yeah, just trying to get a feel of the car and begin to pull away now from Daniel Ricciardo and settle ourselves into this race. We've got a yellow flag though, and it looks like one of the Ferrari cars has gone wide, and it's Sebastian Vettel that's gone off the track then, so he's side by side here with Verstappen as they go in towards this high-speed section of corners, and oh, he's just lost it. So Spinala has come back into the fray here, and as you can see, pretty hectic start there. Vettel then. So Verstappen's got a better run here coming in towards the chicane now. Vettel then gets through into the corner. Does he make any contact? No, he just Spinala's it into the wall. So, yeah, Vettel getting a bit over-ambitious on the throttle versus cold tyres and brakes there. Lap 3 of the Grand Prix now, and we actually got a little bit wide there. In fact, we actually messed up this entire final section here, which puts Daniel Ricciardo right on our tail now. He's gone to the exit of the final chicane, and now, as you can see here, Ricciardo is all over the back of us now. In fact, he's a little bit further back, 0.4 of a second, but he has got slipstream and DRS, and we're monitoring that now as we go onto the pit straight here. Ricciardo now gets a great bit of overspeed. We have to use a little bit of DRS then just to cover him off, because if we didn't, he would have been alongside us, and it would have been a little bit more threatening. And although in retrospective, I probably should have actually just let him get alongside me, so at least then he could have gone a little bit wide and lost a bit of extra time. But on to the end of lap 6 now, to start lap 7. It's time to come into the pits and get off these soft compound tyres. They're not feeling too good, very second hand, so we're going to get off them and get onto the set of medium compound tyres and do the two-stop strategy, of course, to get through into Q3. With qualifying being super close, I could have tried to get through into Q3 on the mediums, but you know, I'd already messed up in Q2 anyway. So, yeah, it was a bit disastrous there as we see the Mercedes mechanics clearly had enough of life and are going to walk away. That's them going on strike as we now come out of the pits here. Annoyingly, Daniel Ricciardo has jumped us in the pits, so the Force Korean mechanics have made a mistake then in the stop. They were too slow changing our tyres, and we've lost position now on track to Daniel Ricciardo, and he was stalking us very nicely in the opening phases of the Grand Prix. So that's a disastrous move there from our team now as we try and blast our way now through. It's towards the end of the first sector, getting very close to Daniel Ricciardo. In fact, closer than I expected to be now as we go through. And do you know what? Let's just try something audacious. Ricciardo locks up then. We're going to sneak it down the inside line as he makes that lock up. There was a little bit of contact tire to tire, but it was nothing major. It's tire to tire contact. And a super move then to get right back past Ricciardo, and we had to do that. Otherwise, that Renault car could have easily gone off into the distance. The pace of the Renault is very impressive this weekend, as we've now got DRS here on George. No, Russell's not in the Williams anymore. Who is in the Williams? It's Jordan King and Latifi. So I think that's probably Latifi that we've just overtaken there. So we'll take that with a pinch of salt. I am correct. Yes, Latifi has been overtaken. Next up the road now is Jordan King in the second Williams car. So getting past him very, very quickly really helped us out, because it does mean that our undercut attempt on Valtteri Bottas to stay in front of him should be alright. But at the moment, the pace in the race is not as quick as I first expected. I thought I'd be a little bit quicker than this, as now, as you can see, there is Valtteri Bottas, and we're going to rejoin in front of the Mercedes driver. So despite our slow pit stop, we're still okay, and our undercut has allowed us to put that into our favour, as Ricciardo has been overcut by Valtteri Bottas. So our next competitor is the Mercedes man, but King here getting a little bit slow now as we go in towards turn 4. Brake a little bit early, swoop around the outside here. We've got way more downforce that Williams car. A little bit of contact there to myself and King, but as we go down the inside, I'll show you who the true King is, and that is myself, as we go through now up into P10. And I don't need to be called the King, because I'm called the Supreme Leader. Everyone knows this by now. As we go through in towards the end of the first sector, it's not even the first sector, it's the middle sector, we're up into P10. Closing up now to Kimi Raikkonen on lap 10 of the Grand Prix, and what I was noticing is that we're in a lot of trouble. And you're probably thinking, why am I in a lot of trouble? The one-stop strategy is already proving to have been the quicker strategy, and we're going to have a lot of issues as we dive it down the inside on Raikkonen, and that dive right there was a symbolization of desperation, because I now knew that the strategy that I did, not my own fault, I could try to get through to Q3 on the medium compound tyres, but it was just so close in quality that track position meant a lot. Turns out track position didn't really mean anything, because if you look on the mini-map, Ocon is currently about to go through the final sector where the chicane is. I'm only just going through, well, making a lovely diving move there on Giovinazzi, knocking over the bollard in the process. Ocon's going through the chicane as I'm going through here. At this moment in time, Esteban Ocon is in prime position to win this Spanish Grand Prix, because he's miles clear. I'm not going to catch him before he makes his pit stop. So I have to try and rag it on these medium compound tyres to get anywhere near him by the end of the Grand Prix. So as Russell now is on the start-finish straight here in the Haas car, this is actually going to be quite an easy overtake for us here as we blast on down the pit straight now and towards George Russell. You can see here that I was checking behind to see if anyone was getting anywhere near me, but as we go through now, Russell here was in front of me. He's now behind me as I dive down the inside. Again, a little bit of contact, but the AIs are programmed to turn into a corner and not back out of it, whereas in real life, obviously, they would just back out of it. So it is what it is, but at the end of the day, I've got work to do, because those guys in front well, they're very, very far in front, and this is my problem. Lap 19 of the Grand Prix here, Magnussen on the hard tyres is 13.8 seconds behind us as we get loose on the back end there. A little bit of contact with the wall as we've lost a bit of our front wing now. So again, a lot of problems starting to come a cropper in this Grand Prix now for myself. Magnussen, as I was saying, is 13.9 seconds behind on the hard tyres. So even if we stopped with, well, no problems at all, we would have been around about 12-13 seconds behind as we very nearly hit the wall there, and Bottas is going to stay out for another lap. But just to compound what was already going to be an absolute mission to even think of getting a podium in this Grand Prix, we've literally thrown away a 100% chance now we're not going to get a podium in this Grand Prix, because now we're going to have to change the front wing. And also, I lost about 4 seconds on my lap compared to the likes of Bottas, who obviously closed up to me during that. Plus then the 5 seconds that we've just lost now in the pit stops here. We've lost 10 seconds now in terms of overall race time. So it's an absolute disaster. And now Sainz is in front of us, which is, again, just compounding a miserable afternoon in general. Knowing that the strategy went wrong. I've gone very, very aggressive. That's a very rare mistake, actually. I don't really tend to make too many mistakes, especially in the race. I tend to do that in quali or in practice as we now go through onto lap 21, gap to Sainz 1.1 seconds. He's onto the back of Ricciardo now as we go through in towards this last sector here as we try and press our way on through, and that's not the way that we want to do it. So that's just the back end just completely stepping out there through that final sector, nearly getting collected by Giovinazzi, but that spin in particular really confused me. Hashtag Spinala. But that one really confused me because all I did was just take a little bit more of the curb, but that's not a heavy curb, so to make that type of spin was really, really unusual. But in fairness, I was at this point very, very hot-headed, especially as I was recording this in the evening, as it was very, very warm. I was sweating anyway. I was getting hot under the collar in this Grand Prix, as we now chase onto the back of Charles Leclerc here now for P15. What an absolute scrap this is, as we just dive it down the inside on Charles. And yeah, that's a very, very aggressive move. Again, people would, in real life, you would have seen someone like that coming in your mirrors, and you would have taken some form of action to get out of the way. But of course, in this game, they don't do that. But I'm just going to go for it anyway. And again, literally for the second time. Oh, that just compounds. Yeah, that just compounds all of my misery. The back end again come out on the exit of the corner. I think that time was literally just getting too eager on the throttle. I then lost the rear end, corrected it, cut the last corner, and I got a penalty for it. So just to compound what's already now turned into an absolute disaster of a Grand Prix, we now have a time penalty, and Leclerc is back in front of us again as we now make the run up towards turn 4. Despite that, though, we're going to still go for here on Charles Leclerc, around the outside of turn 4, a little bit of contact, reminiscent to our attack on Jordan King, and it's a carbon copy of that overtake. We get back past Charles Leclerc, so even though that everything is going horribly wrong in this Grand Prix, I still haven't given up. I'm still going to keep on fighting and see what I can get out of this race, which is probably nothing, but you know what, it is what it is. As we now go through in towards the end of the middle sector now, going the DRS here on the Alfa Romeo of Kimi Räikkönen, a little bit late opening the DRS, but here you can see we're going to brake a little bit early, let the car roll in towards the corner, and that time around we get past Kimi Räikkönen, up into P14 now, with Perez and Verstappen and Giovinazzi up ahead. So we can still get P11, which won't get us any points, but you never know, if someone drops out of the top 10, then we could be in with at least scoring something as we now go on to lap 27 of this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez is up ahead now as we try and press on with him with DRS here, up to 210 miles an hour as we blast along the straight here. Now as we dive it down the inside on Sergio Perez, that time around I actually took a lot more curb and grass just to not crash into Perez, and we didn't actually even hit Perez that time around, so hey, we did something good this time as we make our way up into 13th place now. You can see all of my components getting very, very worn, as I am using worn components this weekend, and I will be in Monaco as well until Azerbaijan, where we're going to be changing them. Now we're onto the back of Verstappen here, who's trying to chase after Giovinazzi. Goes very early on the brakes there. Look, kind of caught me out actually now, but we're alongside Verstappen here as we go through. Oh, that's a very big oversteer. Snap through there as we try and hold on, and Verstappen there's gone round. Verstappen has spun in the background now, so Max this time around is taking the brunt of me being involved in some action. Let's get a replay of that, and let's see if I was being a harsh-hearted little knob and gave him no, I actually gave him plenty of space. There was nothing wrong with that one. I actually got very wayward on the exit of the curb here. So onto this curb here, my back end just went out completely mad, but Verstappen's got all the time around. He actually turns out of the corner and then turns back in again and hits the side of my car. So unfortunately, Max, that one's on you, my friend. I've been an absolute plum sack in this entire Grand Prix, but that one is all on you as we make a late move to the inside line here on Giovinazzi on lap 29 of the Grand Prix and move back up into P11 in this Grand Prix. So yeah, that's kind of where we're going to settle ourselves in. Lewis Hamilton, crucially actually, my championship rival, who is Lewis Hamilton, is only in P10. As we cross the start-finish line, he's going to finish there, but look at the top left. Kevin Magnussen has just won the Spanish Grand Prix for Racing Point. That is insane that he's just managed to achieve that. I even ran out of fuel across the line. Compound more misery, I ran out of fuel in the start-finish line. It's P12, Sergio Perez overtook Giovinazzi and then got into the 3-second window of myself. But Ocon gets driver of the day. But that was a race which just never it was just a disaster straight away. It was an absolute disaster. The first stint, basically put it this way, the two-stop strategy around Spain is useless. Do a one-stop, guys, because it just is absolutely dreadful in there. I tried on the meet. I did very well up until I broke my front wing. Once I broke my front wing, the heat in the moment all hit in. I made stupid errors, spins, back end slides out, contact. Oh, it was just an absolute nightmare. But check out this podium, guys, and you'll know why the title is what it is of the craziest race results. Magnussen has won this Grand Prix for Racing Point, Ocon his second for Renault, and Danny Kvyat is third for AlphaTauri. I don't think I need to say anything else apart from what is that podium? That's a madness of a podium right there. And they all did the one stop. And that just proves it. One stop was king. I should have tried to qualify. And look at that. Magnussen wins ahead of Ocon, Kvyat, Norris, Bottas, Stroll, Gasly, Ricciardo, Sainz, Hamilton. None of the Ferraris scored points. None of the Red Bulls scored points. And my championship rival Hamilton scored 1 point. Bottas got P5 for Mercedes, best of the top runners, you could say. But look at the Drivers' Championship now. After that, I've lost 1 point in the championship, despite having the worst race so far in my Team Career Mode series. I've come away with it, losing just 1 point of my championship lead, heading into Monaco, which is traditionally a very, very good circuit for any player, because you can really take advantage of that. And look at the Constructors' Championship. If I'd actually just been normal, we would have gone back in front of the Constructors' Championship, but we haven't lost any points to anybody, so what a mental Grand Prix. We've had the worst race ever, and we've come out fine. The first problem here, she's saying that we had fuel issues. I just ran out across the line because I was heavy-headed. I was heated, heated-headed. Things looked good to myself and Max, but at the end of the day, I was going to be cocky because the car was fantastic. They never had a chance against the false Koreans. In terms of my performance, no, this was the worst race I've had so far. So, of course, things are going to go better. And guess what she's going to do? She's going to ask me where my problems were. So, guess what? Watch the bloody race and you would have found out where it went wrong. So, we're just going to tell her to shut up.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, anyway. I thought so, Gas. So, in terms of the rivalry, though, myself and Verstappen, we've actually won that 32-26. Weirdly, even though that we had the worst race ever, we still beat him in the race performance anyway. Driver Acclaim still is level 13, and same with Sergio Perez. So on that front, we're actually okay. Team Acclaim is on level 17 there, so we're getting closer to, I believe it's level 20, where you can get a new sponsor, and look at that, that's beautiful. We get the maximum 1.4 million, and excuse those damage deductions. God damn. Yeah, let's just ignore that, shall we? And we're up to 8.41 million, which is crucial because what I'm doing at the moment is I'm monitoring the price of what Sergio Perez is going to be to renew his contract. Once I know what his price is, I can then build up my money, so then when I build more facilities, I can then invest that properly. We then have a sponsorship renewal here for Laguna, which is again to just get a fastest lap in a single session, same as Sudu, and I want to keep them on board, so I just automatically renewed that. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and get that decal back onto the car, for wherever I initially placed it, which was right here. So there they are. There you go, Laguna. Have fun. And as you can see there, they are all sorted. But if you guys have enjoyed today's episode, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. Today's episode very much showed you guys that when a Grand Prix goes wrong, sometimes you can pick it back up and recover from it. And sometimes when a race goes wrong, it just all goes wrong. And that's exactly what happened here today. We made the wrong strategy call to start with, to do the two-stop strategy. We got jumped by Ricciardo in the stop, which held us up. We did a very good job then from then on in, but as soon as we broke our front wing, we then had a big spin, getting caught on the curb. We lost the back end through the throttle. We were too eager and ambitious on that side, getting the 3-second time penalty. It all just built up and it all just went wrong. But hey, it's a chance for us to bounce back next time in Monaco. So guys, thank you very much for watching. We're going to make an ERS upgrade and we're going to rush it to see if it gets on the car. Take care all. Peace.